everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am sharing the creation of my virtual voyage journal. And so in honor of Virtual Voyage 8 and Burtonville 2 and James Luke Burke, I have decided to do this little picture-in-picture type of deal with this video, so we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, so I'm currently taking Virtual Voyage 8, which is a course taught by James Luke Burke. I will leave his YouTube channel down below, but I believe I've mentioned him a dozen times in previous videos. He is amazingly talented, one of my favorite journalers to watch on YouTube. This will be I think this is like my third I think it's my third virtual voyage. I've taken the Pixar one, and then I've taken Virtual Voyage 7, which was the one before this. But yeah, this is two previous ones though were Disney themed. This is all Tim Burton. It's his continuation from his Virtual Voyage 2, which was Burtonville. This is Burtonville 2. And yeah, I just decided to take it. I've always wanted to take Burtonville, the first one, but I opted to do this one because I like the live aspect of the class. Anyway, it's all Tim Burton themed. It is so out of my norm, right? But I decided to go for it. And so I am creating my journal for this class. And so for this class, the way James is doing it is that he created these big journals that you can buy from Amazon. They're 8.5 by 11, and he's calling them deco journals, and it's just like a black and white journal that has different patterns that he completely like totally hand painted and stuff. And yeah, so he actually gave us a PDF of this, but my printer like totally died, so I decided to buy the Amazon version. And it's just like it's literally an 8.5 by 11 like book, right, that you can do your stuff in. And so how he's doing it is that he's using all different types of paper pads and doing his drawings on those and then putting them into this journal. And so I've decided to do the same thing, except I am doing my drawings on different paper pads, watercolor paper, mixed media paper, Bristol paper, all different types of paper, and I am fussy cutting them out. So in the beginning of the video, you probably saw me kind of going through all the little die cuts, and those are all my drawings that I've done so far for this class. And then underneath that, I have like a sheet of stickers that's all James's work, and he gives us like kind of journal fodder, ephemera bits and things that we can print out and cut up and put in our journals. So I love the stickers, so I printed that off on sticker paper and ran it through my Silhouette, and so I have a sheet of beautiful stickers that James has created, and it's his artwork, and it's just, I love it. Anyway, so this class is all about Tim Burton, and so all of the drawings and everything are inspired by Tim Burton, and it's different for me. Like, it's completely different for me, and I cannot begin to tell you how much I've enjoyed this class so far. I'm thinking with this journal that I'm creating of kind of using it as like my Burtonville 2 class journal, but also kind of not completing it and using it as a basis for my October daily for this year. That's kind of my thought process, and so I kind of wanted a cute little journal to do that, and I've decided to make a 6x6 journal. And so you saw here that I have like this piece of paper from Felicity Jane. I believe it's from an old Felicity Jane kit, and it was like a scrap from the 12 by 12, but since it was 12 inches like wide or long, or you know what I mean, I could fold it in half and get that 6, right? And it was bigger. I think it was 12 by 8, so like the perfect size to kind of cut down to 12 by 6, so that when I fold it over, it is a 6 by 6 journal. So I ended up using that as my template. And one side of it is this beautiful Tim Burton on brand stripe. It's one of my favorite stripes actually from Felicity Jane. you know, because all of her papers were black and white on one side and then color on the other side. The other side had a floral that I didn't particularly like. I think this is from the Julia collection, if I remember correctly, but it had like a floral that I didn't really care for. And so what I've decided to do is use this as my template, and I cut it down to 6 by 12 so that, and then I folded it as well so I can get that 6 by 6 template, like that page template. And then I'm using the papers from the 8.5 by 11 book that I bought from James, and I'm using those papers basically as scrapbooking papers. And I took one and I actually lined the other side of that Felicity Jane paper so that I had a black and white base. So everything is going to be black and white, the base, at least the base of the journal. And so what I ended up doing was tearing out all of the pages from the 8.5 by 11 deco journal, and I'm gonna cut them all down to size. And so since it's 8.5 by 11, I'm basically an inch short, right? When I fold it in half, it's gonna be an inch short because it needs to be 12 long and like 6 high, right? So the 6 high is going to be fine. It's just the lengthwise. And so what I've been doing, I think right now you're just seeing me cutting everything down so that it's 6 inches in height. It's so confusing, but it's 6 inches in height, right? And so I have all of my little 6 by 11, they're 6 by 11 papers now, and I'm just using that initial template that I made, that 6 by 12, and I am laying down all of the pages, and then that strip, like that 2 inches that I cut off on the top to make it 6, I'm going to use those papers to kind of add the extra inch on the other side so that I can make the whole sheet 12 by 6. And so then I'll have my, when I fold it in half, it'll be a perfect 6 by 6. And so what I love about this paper and the way that this journal was sort of created, like the way James has designed it, is that like it's just a bunch of black and white patterns, right? And so me paper piecing these longer pages together, it works out so well because I can like mix and match the different patterns, and it looks like it was intentional, right? It doesn't look like I was missing an inch on the page. And so that's what I do for a while here, is that I just kind of mix and match those little strips that I had left over with my 6 by 11 sheet now, and I just add that inch on the end. And this is a process. I go through every single sheet and I try to make sure that the patterns that I choose to kind of lengthen the page, I mean, they're all gonna match because it's black and white, right? They're all gonna match, but I tried to make sure that like the colors, like the dark and the light, were a little bit balanced. And you'll see that I kind of fold them up and put them in, you know, where I think it'll like fit. And I periodically look through the pages um, just to see how it looks. And I think for the most part, I don't do very much rearranging of the pages because I kind of like how they are initially when I make them, but it is a process of just kind of gluing those extra pieces down onto my page to kind of get the length that I need. And so I ripped all of the pages. So I didn't use, I think I only used a paper trimmer for the Felicity Jane paper, just to get it the proper size that I needed. But since I'm using that as a template, all of the other pages from the deco journal, I've just been using a ruler to rip them apart. So my edges of those papers are kind of deckled, and I love that. I love it. I think it's so, it adds a lot of texture, and it just adds a lot of, it just adds another element. And I think it's a perfect kind of scrappy look to this, especially since these patterns are so they're bold, right? They're bold and they're kind of like in your face and eclectic in that way. And so I love having that rough edge there in my journal. And so, yeah, it's a process. I continue on the process of getting all my pages in and the right length. because I don't know how many pages were in the original journal, but I end up using all of them. I said might as well just kind of do all of them, and you'll see towards the end that I still have like an extra pile of the paper that I um, ripped apart. So you know how I had like that, I guess it's 2 by 11 strip. I used that to add the extra inch on the side, but then I'm still left with a good, I want to say 5 inch by 2 inch strip. And so those, I used some of them to line my cover, which you'll see in a moment towards the end of this video. But my idea for that is to basically use those for layering. So when I'm actually gonna go through my journal and like work through it, I'll use those pieces to kind of mix and match and kind of layer. And so my intention for this journal is I'm hoping to use this as my October daily journal. So it's gonna be interesting, I think, because I'm going to be doing the art prompts, you know, all the drawings and everything from the course, and you'll see towards the end of the video that I actually placed a few of them into the journal, and I still have a bunch that I need to get into the journal, and I think what I'll probably do is um, I kind of want to get them in just to have them inside the journal, but if I am going to use it for an October daily, um, I would want the flexibility of not having the drawings there and then placing them when I need them to be there. But then I was also thinking that maybe I'll just create that particular journal not chronologically. So I tend to journal for the most part very chronologically. I like from day 1 to day 31st, just in chronological order in the journal. But I'm kind of thinking for October daily that maybe I will just kind of jump around with the journal for this year, and make it a bit more, I guess, like an art journal, but also kind of document the season. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking about, only because this is so out of my element, like all of it. Like I've been approaching my drawings very black and white. Um, just very black and white, just pen and ink for the most part. And when there is color, the color that I seem to be gravitating towards is like a purple. And I did use some green, like sort of like the minty green, like the minty green of my wall, with the purple, because I love those colors. I think they match really well. And for like a Halloween or like spooky type of Tim Burton-y style, I feel like those colors work. I know James has been using a lot of red, and I get that because I think Tim Burton also uses a lot of red in his work, but I'm not a red person. You know that I'm not a red person. Um, so like kind of giving it a little pastel spin to it. That's kind of where like how I've been doing it and how I've been keeping it, and so far it's been working out. I love the black and white, and I love the pops of purple that are in here. And so yeah, I think those are going to be the color schemes probably. It's just going to be purple, black and white, and then maybe that hint of mint, you know, the green, the little pastel green in it. And who knows, when I actually go and it's October and I'm doing my October daily, there may be ephemera pieces that I put in that are a bit different in color and stuff like that, right? And so that is an idea. Um, but yeah, I think right here I basically finished compiling all of my journal pages, and I have them all in, and I'm just flipping through, making sure I like the look of how everything looks. And for the most part, I do. Honestly, I don't think I change anything. Again, because there's so many patterns. There's so many patterns in this journal that I think no matter like how the pages are positioned, they'll just look good, right? And so, yeah, I'm just kind of, I messing around with my journal, but I do end up getting some thread and binding it up. So I do have the cover. So when I ripped out the pages, I still have this 8.5 by 11 colored cover. And when I peeled off the last 2 pages of it, they came off really clean and it took all the glue in the middle, but the front and back covers were still intact. And so I was just going to use the Felicity Jane cardstock to be my cover, and I figured, yeah, that'll be a cute cover. I can put a sticker on it, I can put a little ephemeral piece or whatever. But I decided to actually use the cover from the original Deco Journal. And so the cover is kind of like a coated, it's like a glossy coated cardstock, and of course it has all the beautiful black and white patterns in it. And so what I've decided to do is cut it, since it's already folded. I kept the fold intact, and I just decided to cut it down to 6 inches. And so it's 6 inches by 8, I think it's 6 by 8, but the 8 is the long way. And obviously I needed 6 by 6, right? And so I kind of put my journal into the cover, and I am just measuring where I need to cut the outside cover. And I initially was going to cut it, and so what I ended up doing was kind of creating the line of where I needed to cut, and I decided to fold that kind of flat inward just to see if I'm getting the sizing correct, and I do it on both sides just to make sure that I'm getting that 6 by 6 journal. And I think I make it a little wider because with all the pages in, there's a little bit of overhang, and I'm just really lazy and I don't like cutting off the overhang. And so I figured if I make the cover a little bit, like maybe like a quarter of an inch like longer, it'll just cover the overhang and it'll be fine. And so that's what I ended up doing. But then I liked it so much, I realized that I need to cover the insides. The inside's just going to be all white, and I didn't really want it all white. And so I decided to keep the flaps, and I'm just gluing them down onto the inside because it has that beautiful black and white pattern. And I'm using some of the scrap pieces of paper that I have left over to line the inside of the cover and basically make it as another black and white page, right? And so I do that. I don't think I had a formula. I was just kind of picking out the pieces that I really liked the pattern of and just placing them down onto the inside cover just to see how it'll look. And I play around with this quite a bit, just looking at the patterns. I really like the patterns that are really distressed. I don't know, it's something about the distressing. I just love that. And so once I figured out exactly kind of, or just roughly which patterns I wanted to use, I just go in and I just glue them all down. And you'll see that some of them I need to like cut pieces of and kind of puzzle it all together. And I think it came out really, really cute. Again, it works. I think it works because all these papers are already black and white, and they, they already match, right? And then the different patterns, it just gives it like a patchwork feel almost. And I love it. It's very eclectic. It's very weird. It's very Tim Burton, and I think just the way that James has designed the patterns in the first place, it just works out so well. And so, yeah, so I end up doing that for a bit. I I kind of so what I was doing was kind of overlapping the pages a little bit so that they kind of layer on top of each other on like one on the edges, so I don't have any of that white space. But since I did that, that middle strip, this weird wonky middle strip that I had, doesn't quite fit, and so I kind of have to cut a bunch of other pages of the papers to get them to kind of fill up the white space. And honestly, I probably could have kept a lot of the white space since a lot of these papers are black and white, but I just kind of wanted to fill it all up with pattern paper, um, just to get it kind of filled. That makes sense. And then this paper is really thin, and so the paper from the journal, the Deco journal, is almost kind of like copy paper. And so definitely I'm going to use it as a base for things. And honestly, I am thinking about maybe even using some inks. So I have my favorite white Liquitex ink, and I have the black Liquitex ink. And um, I feel like if I'm going to use ink on these pages, since I use all those pages to make my pages of my little journal, I'm just going to have to gesso it, which I think is fine. I can use um, the white gesso would be fine, of course, if I want the patterns to be a little lighter than how they are. But I have oh my god, the Finnabar uh, clear gesso, which honestly is fantastic. It's like some of the best clear gesso that I've ever used. And yeah, I can just use that because it goes on clear and it goes on matte. Oh my god, it's so nice. And it's yeah, it just works really well. I believe it's the gesso, because I was looking for a clear gesso for a really long time, and I believe this is the gesso that all the Bible journalers use in their Bibles, because it dries matte and it dries clear. So there's a lot of clear gessos that dry with like um, kind of like a haze, like they're not clear, right? It's kind of like hazy, but this one dries clear, and it dries like you can put a really thin coat, and so it works really well for those thin Bible pages. And so I believe, yeah, I think it was the Illustrated Faith community um, where I heard about this particular gesso, and it's the Finnabar one. So it's the Prima Marketing Finnabar collab clear gesso. I'll see if I leave a link down below to it. Um, but yeah, I'm thinking I can use that, and if I want to use some of my more heavier mixed media supplies. And so here I am just binding up my journal. So I was debating either using that purple thread or the black thread. I decided to go with black, just to keep everything black and white, even though that pop of color would have been really, really cute. But yeah, so I'm just poking my holes here. And like I initially was going to do like a 3 pamphlet stitch, but then I added 2 extra holes to do a 5 pamphlet stitch, and you'll notice here that I'm very confused. Like I momentarily forgot how to do a pamphlet stitch. So I figure it out eventually, but you'll see that I kind of struggle a little bit with placing my threads. I'm like, I don't know if my needle needs to go in here. It just didn't look right. Um, and I think I still did it wrong. I think I still did it wrong. I'm probably gonna have to go back and like reteach myself how to do the stitch, but I definitely did it wrong. So you'll see that I kind of mess around with it, and I'm very confused. I pause, I stop, and I think I end up unthreading like all of it because I wasn't correct that first time. But yeah, I do a very simple 5 hole pamphlet stitch. I think that's the proper name of it. Anyway, I figure out my stitching eventually. And then I just simple knot it in the middle. And there's my little journal. I do go in, I kind of like crease it on the side, and then I open the pages up, one to see how they all look next to each other, and just sort of to kind of create a seam, like just to make it lay flat. Um, I did have to like fix like the glue on my front cover a little bit, but yeah, I'm just going through each page, kind of flattening out that seam, and also just looking at how the patterns ended up next to each other. And I love the middle one. I love that one. I don't know what I'm gonna do there. I want to do something special on that page because it's so pretty, just the backgrounds together. But anyway, so yeah, the back side of it though is where I really had to like crease it to sort of lay flat. And I think because I had like a little hump there from where I knotted the thread. But that is my little 6x6 journal. I really liked how I utilized the 8.5 by 11 journal and kind of made it my own. And yeah, I'm just now fiddling around with some stickers. So there's 2 stickers on the sticker sheet that James provided for us that say Burtonville. One says Burtonville 2 and the other one says Burtonville. And I wanted to put one on the cover, and I thought about covering up that line of text. And so the Deco journal on the cover, it has a line of text that says, I think it says James Luke, JLB Creative, Deco journal, black and white or whatever. And I was trying to cover it up, but it didn't look right. So I ended up just putting the small Burtonville sticker just like right there, kind of like not centered, but like a little off-centered. And now I'm just kind of messing around with my drawings that I've made into die cuts and seeing if I can get any of them into my journal. And like I debated putting like including this in this video or not, because I still don't know if I'm gonna like glue in all of my journals as I'm doing this course, or if I'm going to wait for October, when I get started on my October daily journal. I still don't know, but I know for the beginning page, which is this first page you're looking at, I did put down the Burtonville 2 sticker. I felt like that fit there. And I really wanted to put down the first drawing that we did, which was our little self-portrait holding Tim Burton's eyes. It's kind of like a really creepy looking portrait. And yeah, I just kind of played around a little bit with some of the die cuts, and I think I abandoned that first page, and I'm now trying to add in my little Sally. So this is from the Sally O Seams lesson, and I made her like a little pastel queen here. And I'm trying to find a page here that she looks good on, and I think I go with one that had like a darker background. That way she kind of pops out a little bit, because I did this drawing entirely in pencil, and so it's pencil and color pencil, and so it's not as bold as the other ones that are drawn with pen. And so I find a page that I really like how she looked, and I'm just gonna glue her down. So I feel like I'm gonna do a mixture. I'm gonna do a mixture of like, if there's something that I know I really want in this journal and like I don't really care where it fits, and if I find a spot that it looks good in, right, I'm just gonna glue it down. And then I think, I don't know, because I don't know what I'm gonna do in October. And so this was my dilemma when I was starting to work in this part of the video, is like trying to figure out if I wanted to glue in my drawings now, as I'm getting them drawn and like fussy cut them and stuff, or if I wanted to wait until October comes around and I do my October daily. But I did glue my little self-portrait holding Tim Burton's eyes into that page, and that's like the inside cover. And so since I covered it, it can be a page. And there was a lesson that we I think it was during the live that we did some cat women, and I have three different ones, and I liked this one. I liked how it looked, because it's so dark, like it's ink, next to like the the right side of that page. And so I'm trying to find other places where I can put the other ones. And again, I don't know. I just don't know. Now I'm trying to fit in this one. This was like the fears drawing. And mine has to go in uh, vertically, only because it's bigger than 6x6. And so it's gonna be like on the side. And I just have to find a good place for it. Like, that's pretty much what it comes down to, is trying to find a good place in the journal where those pieces fit. And so this is all my little extras. I have some extras from the cover. I have my stickers. I have my drawings that I cut up, and some of the papers left over. And so I'm going to use all that stuff as fodder. Like, that's just going to be what I'm going to use when I fill in this journal. And I'm probably going to pick up other things like ephemera through the day. I really want to get in some like photographs and maybe like movie poster kind of photographs, because I do watch a lot of kind of like October-y spooky movies in October, and maybe get some in there. But I actually go back into the journal and add some grid paper, and I kind of frame it with these stickers from the sheet that James provided us, just to kind of frame it. And I think I kind of want to write here. So I always start my journals and I always have a page where I write out the intention for it. And so I think I'm going to write out something here that, you know, this is Burtonville too, but it's also probably maybe my October daily. Anyway, I just wanted to pop on and actually build this journal out live. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think I don't do anything else other than that. Um, Still playing around with things, but I have to decide exactly my approach filling this out. But I really love my little 6x6 journal, and I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all next time. Bye!